Course number 11, class number 1, starts this way. It is your opportunity to be able to use those tools that work for you in being able to get you through the moments or to be able to process what you know you need to get through. Now, these first items that are suggested to you in course number 1 are about you being able to be self-reflective by yourself in a peaceful sort of way. That means that you have to be able to trust yourself to dip into an emotional sort of memory or to dip into a memory and to be able to process it and then to move out of it. And that's a type of capacity to be able to explore yourself and then also soothe yourself and then move on with the rest of life. It's also a practice. The ability to deal with any sort of complication that kind of takes hold of you, and then you have to walk your way through it and then go back to everyday life. There's actually some real value in that process. So you want to have these tools that you can use in the interim. So it helps you practice dipping in and dipping out. The first thing I'm going to suggest is this. If you're needing to think about what you went through and feel about what you went through, and the way you'll know if you need to do it is that you just spontaneously seem to do it all day long, every minute of the day. It just spills out of you. You cry or you think about it, you're triggered, and it's just very present for you. So one way to kind of deal with that is to organize a set time every day for you to visit the feelings, visit the thoughts, visit the memories, and that those are the only times that you give yourself the space to be able to do that. Now that sounds a little bit artificial, and in fact it kind of is, but what it does is it sets a boundary so that you can say to yourself all the rest of your day, you know what, that's a good thought, we are going to explore that during my 5 minutes, my 10 minutes, my hour-long self-reflection or meditation. And that is the way to be able to kind of put it off until that particular time. Now, it is a contract with yourself, so you do have to keep that contract with yourself. So let's just pretend for a moment you say you're having a reaction, you're remembering something's happening in the moment, it's triggering you, and you're just triggering it, and you say to yourself, you know what, I'm triggered in this moment, quick, write it in my phone, write on a piece of paper, okay, I'm going to think about it today at 4 o'clock. And that's my time, 4 to 4:30, that's my time. That's when I'm going to think about it and put this in perspective right now. I just have to respond to my current reality. And that's when way to postpone it. If in the middle of the night you wake up with a nightmare, maybe you write it down very quickly, but you tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to think about that nightmare more when I go into my analysis with myself, my self-analysis. And I'm going to do that at 4 o'clock today or 3 o'clock today, or I'm going to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you say, that's my time. And then at the end of the time, let's say it's from 4 to 4:30, just an example, you say, you do a little ceremony at the very last few moments of it, where you experience just wrapping up that meditation, that self-analysis, that process, wrap it up just for the day. You're not like wrapping it up and pretending it's all fixed. You're just kind of concluding your time of meditating with it. Sometimes you just need space to feel and think and react and be angry and express, but you can't let that totally spill out in your day most of the time. There are times in your life where you do such long expressions. Maybe you go to 5-day retreats where day and night you're really involved. Maybe you go into what's called an inpatient treatment and your therapies are very involved 24/7. So that's a very different setting. There are times where you might need to just immerse yourself in the healing process. But most of the time, it's a matter of being able to focus. I'm going to immerse myself during this package of time into that experience, and then I'm going to do a ceremony that helps me move away and honor that the rest of life is occurring there as well. Now, another advantage of this, not only are you putting boundaries on yourself, not only are you telling yourself to refer it to that time, defer, defer, defer. And that act of deferring is like a muscle. It's like, okay, we're going to lift that weight right now. We're going to defer it until that time. I will pay attention. I will love myself. I will pay attention to myself, but I'm going to do it at that time. And that allows you to be able to recognize that the rest of your life, thirdly, is amazingly needing your presence, wants your presence. And in fact, it's in the present moment that you're the most likely to create a life that you actually want to live. And to be able to focus the rest of your life on how do I want to live my life from this day forward, which is the next exercise I want you to consider. So the first one is about funneling all of your self-analysis into a particular time and practicing deferring to that time and closing it up. And some of the meditations associated to this class will be precisely that. The next one is your ability to say, you know what, I am now in the process of creating my future life. And so you actually spend time in your present life imagining where you're moving your life toward. And that forward trajectory, if you're doing archery, you aim toward the target. It's that forward trajectory where you want to say, what do I want my life to look like today, at the end of the day? What do I want to experience today? Now, what is important to realize is that not everybody has learned the art of choosing what parts of themselves are going to be expressed in a given moment. But the more choice you have, like, this moment, if I'm this way, it will suit the situation and optimize the situation better than if I choose to be this part of myself, So I'm going to choose to be this part of myself. Well, that's a choice, right? Most of the time what people do is they say, well, here's a situation. I only have this one way of responding, and it may or may not help the situation. I'm helpless. It may or may not work. I'm out of control. I'm helpless. So you are actually wanting to go to the place where you have many different sides of who you are. Let's just say 10, many different sides of who you are. And that in any given moment you can say, I think I'm going to choose this side of me right now, because I think this side will optimize my current situation in order to move this day in the trajectory of where I want my life to go today, this week, this month, this year, and things of that sort. So the second part of this is the second intervention is for you to actually lay out a plan, a vision for what you want your life to be unfolding during the course of this year, and then break it down into months and break it down to this month, this week, and today. And just being mindful of that, having that sense of, this is how I want my life to unfold. This is what I want in my life. This is what I want to create. And now what are my resources inside of me that I need to express? Which ones of these do I need to express in this moment to move me in that trajectory? Otherwise, you become a victim to only feeling like there's one side of you that responds to all situations, and that maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. That's very powerless, right? The other thing is you don't want all that stuff that's triggering you to be the primary influencer of your moment, because that's going to keep you very potentially stuck in the process of recovering and living the trauma in every situation you're in, even if it's just on the inside of you. And again, there's no fault if on the inside of you, you live 100% of the time in your abuse and trauma, because you're recovering. And it's intense, and it's hard. And it's even hard to do the first exercise, which is you focusing on that one meditative time to deal with what's going on. But it is a practice. It's like practice the muscle of that. So no shame. Please, no shame. Don't shame yourself with any of these techniques. You're going to find some techniques work better for you. Some of them require you to do a little bit more exercise. Like this last technique of being able to choose who you're going to be in a given situation as you aim toward the life you want to create this year, means you have to be focused on, well, what are these 10 different sides of me that are authentic to me, that maybe need to be developed and grown and so forth and so on, but still allow me to be able to go in that direction. And so even that very process is, who do I need to grow myself into? Who do I need to build myself to become? And that is an exercise in of itself. And that would be number 3. Number 3 is, what resources do I have inside of me to move me in the life that I want? And what of those resources do I need to grow so that they're more functional, more available, I understand them better, have a better relationship with them, and I can retrieve them inside myself at the right time because I can recognize them. So let me just give you an example. So let's pretend for a moment we're talking about me, and I say, there's a side of me that's very talkative, and I can go on and on and on. Now that side of me that's very talkative can be very superficial and chatty, okay? Well, that side of me, we'll just say that's my pinky finger, okay? That side is really helpful in situations where people don't really know each other or they just want to have lighthearted chat. And it's nice to know that I have that. Now let's say that I also know there's a side of me that can be very dark and very in the pain and the ills and the evils of a situation, and I can feel it and be there and understand it, and that's another part of me. And I'm going to put that in that index finger. So I've got this and this, and that side of me is incredibly helpful in a lot of situations because I can relate to people who are going through it authentically, okay? But this person in a chatty situation or when a situation where people don't really know each other, this person does not work in situations where this person's really good at. Let's say another side of me is a person who can think scientifically, very analytic, data collecting, goes to a logical way of understanding sorts of things based on classical logical layouts. And let's say that I'm going to put that in this middle finger right there. Okay, so I can't, well, let's say it's in this, this finger right there. A little hard which finger you choose, right? Okay, so this is the side of me, very logical, very scientific. Now that side of me that's very logical and scientific is actually really helpful in situations where there needs to be a problem solved. You know, here's a problem, let's see if we can go to solution. Problem, let's go to solution. You know, that's a really helpful, analytic, objectifying. And if I'm in a really troubled circumstance or someone around me is in a troubled circumstance and they need someone just to come up with a viable solution, that's the person I'm going to call on in that moment. I'm not going to call on the dark side. I'm not going to call on the lighthearted, chatty side. I'm going to call on the one that can be objective and solving problem oriented. So I hope I'm illustrating that if you know these different sides of who you are and you say, which one of these is going to match a particular situation best, that will optimize this situation to go the way I want it to go or the way I feel is the best way for it to go. Which one of me am I going to pull on? Now, after a while, this kind of calling which person inside of you to the task at hand becomes more natural because you're more familiar with all of the different resources that you have at a given time. And that gives you the power and the availability to be you. Okay, so those are 3 exercises associated to what you can do on your own. And remember, this entire course, all 12 courses of them are primarily what you can do on your own. But we've also been talking about in the last couple of courses how you get your team in place. So today is about how you get yourself and your team in place as you navigate various needs in your own life. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat. The first one is to set a boundary of a time where you can defer the triggers and the horrors of abuse and trauma for you to be present with. And there's lots of ways to be present, and you can be present in any number of the ways that we talked about in the entire course and in the book Paths to Recovery After Abuse and Trauma, or the book Own Your Own Peace, okay? The second thing is to write out what is my optimal goal for this next year, breaking it down into months, this current month, this current week, this current day. So you have this clarity that you every day you can kind of consult, what are my goals for today? What do I want to create in this next life? Okay? That also, by the way, allows you to remember you're creating the next life. And creating the next life is distinctively different than recovering from abuse and trauma, which is you being able to clean up the horrors and the messes that you have brought forward from, understandably brought forward from abuse and trauma. So recovery is like in between, and creating this next life is about you being able to thrive, right? And the final thing of today is get in touch with at least 10 different sides of yourself that are really helpful in other situations, in different situations, and really kind of analyze who are these 10 sides of me. And you could have many more. Start with 5 if you feel overwhelmed with 10, just so that you begin to realize, oh, I really have so many valuable sides of me that can help me both in my recovery and also in my thriving. Okay, see you in class number 2.